The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Robertson. Today, we're joined by an inspiring real estate leader, Skyleigh McCallum. Now, she started out in psychology. Motherhood then led her to real estate, where she earned her license in just 3 months. And she quickly rose from a solo agent to team leader. And now she thrives in partnership while coaching others. Now, as a coach with Sims Coaching Systems, she helps agents scale their businesses while maintaining balance. Oh, that's everybody's dream. So let's dive into her journey. Welcome to the show, Skyleigh.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I listened to a handful, I deep dove into a lot of the other interviews that you've had, and they're very good. So I was very excited to be here.
Well, would you like to share, first of all, your journey started in psychology. So what was the pivotal moment that made you realize real estate was your true calling?
You know what's funny? I actually I've told this story a handful of times, and I always refer to me getting into real estate as me sleepwalking into it. As weird as that sounds, because I feel like a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I really wanted to sell houses because I love houses," and that really wasn't what happened to me. So I did start in psychology when I graduated from high school, trying to figure out what you want. I feel like you don't really know yourself at that point in your life. And I just went to school because that's what I was told to do. And I do really love the human brain and social interactions and how it's all kind of related with relationships and all that kind of stuff. So it does make sense that I got into real estate because we are in a people business. But when I switched from psychology into real estate, I didn't realize that they actually made sense together. But I was going to school serving. My husband and I decided to have our daughter, and she came 9 months, and it was too fast. And all of a sudden I was like, I don't want to serve and go to school for psychology anymore and have this baby. I don't know what to do. And so I actually ended up having an interview kind of conversation with one of the regulars at the pub that I used to work at. He was a mortgage broker. And I was like, you know what? His schedule seems flexible. He had all these things, right? When you come up with your why for why you're doing what you're doing, all of the whys for what I wanted to do in my life seemed to have the boxes checked for this guy that was a regular at the pub I worked at. And so I sat down with him and I was like, hey, it looks like what you're doing for work checks all the boxes of what I'm looking for. And in that conversation, he was like, you know what? I think that you'd be a really good realtor, not a mortgage broker, because I am so chatty and friendly and all of that kind of stuff. And he's like, you don't want to sit behind a desk. While yes, you have interactions with your clients, it's just not the same. He's like, I think you should do real estate. And so I ended up meeting with a team leader here in Kamloops, and within 10 minutes of a conversation, I was sold, and I woke up with my real estate license 3 months later. And like I said, I kind of just sleepwalked through it. I just woke up one day and all of a sudden I had a real estate license. So that's kind of how it happened.
You were going with the flow. And it is interesting because psychology does fit with that, because what you just said earlier is that the biggest part of this is in the building relationships, and everybody is different. So knowing how to interact with different people, that's going to go a long way. So, you've smashed it out the park. You've gone from solo agent to team leader and now a mentor. So what's been the most rewarding part of that evolution, if you like?
I definitely think that it would be the coaching aspect of things. So I did quite well my first year. I sold 40 houses my first year in real estate. And
wow.
I was on a team, and I remember all the learning, and it was just like drinking out of a fire hose, but it was just like so super exciting. And as time kind of went on and I did well in real estate, people would come to me and ask me questions, and I didn't realize that I loved mentoring and teaching as much as I do until those opportunities kind of came up. So I think that it is the helping other people that really kind of lights it on fire for me. I do love still selling real estate. Don't get me wrong. The clients that I work with, they end up being close friends of mine. I get to pick and choose who I work with now. But honestly, like when I have students that end up being successful and use the tools and resources that I've given them, or that like the coaching company has given them, and they've implemented it and now their business is thriving, like that just makes me so happy. Like I'm just willing to give away everything. And people are like, so weird. Why are you just giving me this stuff? And I'm like, maybe I'm selfishly doing it for me. Like I feel good when I do it, and I feel good when you're successful. So yeah, I
Love
stumbled
that.
into that as well when people started asking me questions. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this actually like makes me really happy and it fills my cup. And then they're successful. So yeah, I think that's kind of how that happened.
Brilliant. And so what do you think has helped you separate yourself from the marketplace? I mean, 40 transactions in your first year. I'm sure there's many listeners out there going, what? So what would you say are the sort of top key things that maybe you were doing that others maybe aren't doing?
I'm just like writing a couple of things down so that I don't forget, because I don't want to like lose my train of thought. But yeah, like reflecting back to when I first started in real estate, there's a number of things that we coach to that I didn't know that I was doing when I first started. Actually Jason from the coaching company who brought me on as a coach, he was actually my real estate coach. And he used to say this to me when I first started working with him. So it was 4 years later that he asked me to be a coach for the company. But he had said this to me. He's like, you're unconscious competent. And he's like, and we need to make you conscious competent. And so then I really had to think about, I'm like, okay, what is it that I was doing that actually led me to be successful? And when I really thought about it and I was telling my story as to what I was doing, it really did feed into consistency, which again is like what we coach to, is that you have to do the thing every day consistently in order to actually see the success from it. So I think that I did that very well. I actually time blocked. I was a mom, right? Like I remember I took care of my daughter. My husband was away working. I took care of my daughter and was in real estate. And in order to make it so that I could actually prospect, which again, I didn't realize was a big thing in real estate. I thought that I would just like get all these clients in my hands. But it turned out I lived in the back end of a website and I had a phone in my hand constantly. And so in order to actually move my business forward, I was making calls all the time. And in order to be consistent, I ended up time blocking it in for when my daughter was napping. She'd go for a nap. I'd sit at the kitchen table. I had my sheet of paper. I was checking things off. And I did that every single day. Every day. And I don't know why I didn't give up. I'm not sure. Maybe I get that big dopamine rush more so than other people when you actually have a good conversation or you close a deal. But I chased it really hard and I didn't give up. I think a lot of people give up really easily in life. So consistency is probably the number one. And then the second one that I wanted to mention was just problem solving. I just really like solving people's problems. So I think a lot of times when you're prospecting and you're trying to gain these clients, they end up having these objections, right? And if you look at it as an objection that they're like, no, I don't like you. No, I don't want to work with you. You're easy to let it go. But for me, I actually really like puzzles and problem solving. So when they have an objection, I'm like, okay, how can we solve this problem for you? Because obviously your goal is to get going, right? And I'm like, how can I solve your problem so I can move you from point A to point B? And that's like the same thing with too, right? Is that like usually people have a problem and I'm like, if we can just solve your problem, then away we go. So those were like the two things that I think that I did differently, I would say, in order for the numbers to where they're at.
I mean, when you share that, it sounds so simple, but here's the rub. Anything that's easy to do is just as easy not to do.
Yeah.
And there be the key. I think so many people are looking for this magic pill that this is what's going to make them successful. And just like you've shared there, it just goes to show that it's just doing the things that you know you need to do, that you can't not do them, and do them consistently is what's going to get you there. So you're a coach with Sims Coaching Systems. What's one challenge or one common challenge that you think real estate agents face, and how do you help them overcome them?
It's funny because you wouldn't think that this would be the problem, but probably the biggest problem that agents face is implementation.
There it is.
Everybody is so ready to participate and take all the courses and learn all the things, and they're eager to do that, and they show up to the calls, and that's great. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to implement the things that you've learned, you're not going to move anything forward. So that's the biggest problem, to be honest. I don't think there's a lot of people that end up exiting the industry, and it's not because they weren't capable of doing it. It's just that they didn't. And so there's actually a quote that I don't know whose quote this is, but one of my business partners and like really good friends, he was the one who said this, and it's very true. So I don't know if I can swear on the podcast. Maybe I should like bleep it out. But either way, he said that when you look at somebody who's successful, you don't see all the stuff that they did in order to actually get there. And so he's like, everyone wants to be a lion in the jungle, but no, not everybody is capable of doing the lion shit that they needed to do in order to be a lion. So
Yes.
anyways, he said that, and I'm like, oh, that resonates with me, because everyone wants what other people have, but then they're not willing to go through the crap to actually get there. So you learn all
There you
these,
go.
you know the answers, but then you don't actually implement it. So that's probably the biggest problem, I would say.
Key tips there. It's all about implementing what you've learned and not being stuck in study mode, which, yes, I think so many people get caught there. And you really sort of emphasize helping others find their deeper why. So what's your own why that keeps you driven in this industry?
You know what? It's evolved over time, but when I really go back to the core as to why I do the things that I do, it's because I want the time freedom to be able to build the memories with my family and friends, and my kids to have the same opportunities, right? So thinking back when I was growing up, my parents were very hardworking, very, very hardworking, but they weren't around a lot. Like they were running a gas station, they were running a restaurant, they were doing all these things. They worked so hard. We had lots of nice things, but they weren't always there. And I remember going and playing baseball and going figure skating, and like they're not sitting in the bench. Do you know what I mean? Like again, like my parents are wonderful, wonderful humans. I am so grateful for them in so many ways. But yeah, I was just thinking about that, and I want to be able to provide all of the things to my kids, but also have the time freedom in order to actually participate in those things as well. I don't want to wake up at retirement and be like, oh, now my life is starting, right? Like I want my life to be started from the beginning. I don't want to just wait until everyone always has this like vision of like, oh, when I retire, I'll get to it. Or when the kids are older, I'll get to it. And I just don't want to live that way. I feel like life is super short. So that's my why. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Okay.
it goes back to when I first brought you in about, you help people build their business while maintaining balance. So that is the key thing. So for the listeners, you did 40 transactions in your first year. How is it going now? You've sort of moved into more coaching and mentoring. How many transactions are you still able to do on top of that and still maintain balance in your life?
So I'm trying to think. Last year, I mean, the market wasn't like super great, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
very grateful for the fact of like working for referrals. I've never had like a massive dip. Like I feel like I've been pretty consistent over the course of my 9.5 years in real estate. So last year, I think that I did 35
Wow.
deals. But like you were talking about, just having the time freedom is obviously important to me. So there was a point there where I sold like 60 something houses in a year.
Mm.
And great, gold star for me and my team. However, that wasn't a fun year for me. And I felt
Mm.
like I missed out on a lot of things with my kids. So I really like had to sit down and think about what was more important to me. I'm like, I can have my cake and eat it too. I just need to structure it in a way that makes sense. And so my team is actually restructured now. And so my business partner, she handles majority of the showings. And then I come in and kind of do the surgery, which is the negotiations and contract writing and helping people get past the finish line of removing subjects, stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that ends up making it so that I have the time freedom to still sell a good chunk of houses and do coaching. And
Mm.
and I actually just launched like a transaction coordination company. And so like I can still do all those things, but it's because I've really learned the power of delegation and like good partnerships. So,
Brilliant.
mhm.
Brilliant. So what's next? What's next for Skyleigh? What are your goals for this year?
So like I said, I did launch the transaction coordination company. That again was launched because I saw a problem that a lot of agents were having where they're like, I am so busy, I don't have time to do my paperwork, but then at the same time, I'm also not making enough money to pay a full-time assistant. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, problem solve. I will manage
Ah,
some assistants. You can do a pay per deal for the transaction coordination company. I already have systems in place. So that's been launched, which I'm really proud of. And yeah, I'm just kind of getting that off the ground and like building the client database for that. But I'm excited about it. It's doing really well. But obviously, I have a goal set for like what I want it to look like. And then I am working with a business partner on launching another coaching company, actually. Not even for realtors, but just for people in business in general. So that's also very
brilliant.
exciting. Yeah. Apparently I
Awesome.
can't stop. So here we are.
Yeah, but from what you've shared, it's you're growing, you're being able to scale your whole business because, like you said, you're delegating out, you're outsourcing certain parts of the job that really don't need you to be so involved. So awesome. So who are you looking to connect with then? More people to take on your new service?
Yeah, and you know what is funny about that question is that I always feel like no matter who you meet in life, there is like a purpose for you meeting them, but I never like assign what I'm looking for because I don't like feeling like people are disposable.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember going to a conference a number of years ago, and one of my friends who was like very successful, he had met a number of really amazing people in the industry. And I was like, hey, like, can you introduce me to some people? And he's like, yeah, what's your goal? Like, who do you want to meet? Like, why? Like, what are you looking to like accomplish? I was like, I'm not looking to accomplish anything. And he's like, that's not true. Tell me why. Tell me why. Who you want to meet? Like what are you trying to do? And I was like, honestly, I just want to network and meet people. And if there's something that we can collaborate on, great. If there's not, great. If they're just wonderful human beings, great. Like I just let the cards fall wherever they fall. So I hope
And
that makes sense. I just feel
yeah,
like no matter where people come into my life, they might they might do something, they might not, but I just feel like everybody has a purpose and where they fall into that, it's just is what it
it's
is.
down
And
to
I'm
them.
happy wherever they land.
Love that answer. And finally, because here at Icons, we're not just a podcast, we're passionate about making podcasting
Mm.
accessible to everybody involved in the business of real estate, whether they're mortgage lenders, realtors, brokers, investors. And we're the number one real estate podcast network globally. So, Skyleigh, if you had your own podcast, what do you think you'd call it?
That's funny. I've actually talked about this in the past, and the real estate podcast that I would have if I ever did one. It actually wouldn't be geared, it would be geared towards other realtors, but it would be more about like building connection because I feel like now I'm saying realtors funny. Anyways, I feel like a lot of times people feel like they're on an island alone in real estate. And so there's a lot of stories that end up happening throughout real estate. And some of the stories that I've told some of my friends and like other realtors of scenarios that have happened. Like I once found a homeless guy in a shed upon closing. And so there's funny stories that end up happening. And actually a friend of mine suggested this name to me and it was brilliant. And he said that it would just be called like the Chronicles of Skyleigh. But
Fantastic.
it would be more about like building connection with other realtors so that they don't feel like they're on an island alone and that their crazy stories we all have them.
Yeah, they're valid. Everyone's got a story and every story is valid.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I
So
agree.
if anybody would like to reach out to you, maybe they are interested in having somebody do their paperwork for them as well.
Yes.
And of course, buying or selling. How do they reach you? Where do they find you?
You know what? I am very grateful for my mom for naming me such a different name because if you Google my name, I pop up all over the place. Like I'm really easy to find all over the social media platforms, you name it. Yeah, honestly, like if you click any of those websites, it takes you directly to me. I've had the same phone number for the last 20 years. And yeah, even my email is super easy, Skyleigh@foreverkamloops.com. Easy peasy.
Fantastic. And Skylleigh's details will be in the show notes. So if you want to get in touch, then resort back to those. Skyleigh, thank you so much for your time today. It's been lovely speaking with you. And to the listeners, I'll be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate. Bye for now.